Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the last session of today. I'm sure it's been a very rich program already, so we'll try to keep the energy high in this last session as well. And I'd like to welcome you to the session on cooperating to achieve climate ambition, how host countries can maximize Article 6 opportunities and address challenges. So in the last session, if you were there, we spoke about buyers' perspectives. Now we have the pleasure to talk from a host country perspective about Article 6 of the Paris Agreement, which of course has been introduced in the previous session relating to international voluntary cooperation for the implementation of NDCs. And we'll mainly in this session look at benefits as well as challenges from a host country perspective. My name is Sandra Greiner. I'm lead consultant at Climate Focus, which is an international consulting and advisory company. And I'll be the moderator and timekeeper of this session. And we'll have an excellent and very distinguished and knowledgeable panel today, which I would like to introduce to you. So first of all, on my left, let me start. So we have Mr. Umit Mamadimonov, who's, let me say that again, Mamadaminov.
Yes.
Thank you. And Mr. Mamadaminov is Deputy Minister of Energy from Uzbekistan, where he is tasked with the energy transition. And then next we have Madame Nguyen Titu Huang. She is Deputy Director General in the Department of Crop Production in the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development of Vietnam. Working particularly on rice cultivation, which, as we know, is one of the major contributing sectors to greenhouse gases. Then actually not on the panel here, but hopefully with us virtually. Yes, I see him on the screen. Hello, Dan. It's Daniel Benafor. He's director of the Environmental Protection Agency of Ghana. Today I read again in Carbon Pulse that Ghana is one of the global leaders in Article 6, which certainly is also a lot has to do with Daniel's leadership here. So it's really great to have you with us virtually, and very sorry that you couldn't travel to be here with us in person. And then last but not least, we have Fenella Awan. And Fenella is the head of carbon pricing at the Global Greenhouse Gas Institute, GGGI, where she's supporting many countries in Article 6 readiness. So we will have, starting with 2 rounds of questions to our panelists. And after that, I hope we also have some chance for questions from the audience. So with no further ado, let me start and ask the first question. First to you, Deputy Minister. Oh, I should say, by the way, that we had some very last-minute changes to the panel. But we're actually able to, both from Uzbekistan and Vietnam have very high-level replacements at very short notice. So thank you so much for stepping in.
Thank you.
So let me direct the first question then at you, Deputy Minister, relating to the benefits on Article 6. So for your country, Do you see, and I think that's a question that I think many of us would like to know, how real is Article 6 at this point? We know it's still being negotiated, but also already cooperation is starting. So the first question, do you already see tangible benefits from this international collaboration? And or if not yet, where would you see these benefits in future? If you could explore a bit and share with us where international cooperation could support you, for instance, in the energy transition.
Thank you, Sandra. Pleasure to be here today with all the expertise in the carbon market. And Uzbekistan as a host country, as a developing nation, for Article 6, based on your question, creates a lot of opportunities, especially a country like Uzbekistan is energy intensive comparing the other nations. Energy intensity is really high. And also the emissions is 70% emissions coming from the energy industry. So that's why it's crucial for us to put our NDC goals and then the Article 6 plans. So this Article 6 enables us to bring a lot of financing for our industry, specifically energy industry. And we can think of two ways. It can create investment, foreign direct investment for creating the low-cost energy, renewable energy integration. And Uzbekistan is last 3 years, we have signed over 20 gigawatts of the renewable energy, utility scale. This is more than 12 gigawatt wind and then more than 8 gigawatt of solar energy. So by 2030, we will have at least 40% of renewable energy generation in our generation mix. This Article 6 also enables us to bring a lot of investors, players to the market to the energy, renewable energy integration. Also, on the other hand, it will automatically create jobs for the locals and access to the energy for the locals, access to the clean energy. And also, it will create, cost-effective emission reduction schemes, and it brings for us for the capacity building. The expertise will come to Uzbekistan and teach our local companies, industry-based, whether it's agriculture or the metallurgy industry or the construction industry. It will create a lot of capacity building for the developing nation like us. And also, it will align our national strategic goals for the energy industry, because we have also our own strategic goals for us by 2030. So it will benefit for both sides, for whether Article 6 operation and then for our NDC goals.
Thank you very much. Let me direct the same question to you, Madam Huang. So, but now perhaps speaking for a different sector, the agricultural sector, where would you see the benefits of international cooperation, and is it already tangible in your country?
Thank you very much for your questions. With the agriculture in Vietnam, the Article 6 is very new with us. And frankly, to say that we don't see any clearly result like in tangible or measurable in benefit for Vietnam in this time. However, in Vietnam, we are now in the process of finalizing the legal framework to implement Article 6 in Vietnam, and it includes the revision of Decree number 6, which is issued in 2022. Which is focusing on greenhouse gas emissions and also ozone layer protection. In our very specific area, as you said, like in rice cultivation in Vietnam, our government now are running the programs that the sustainable development on 1 million hectares of high quality and low carbon rice in the Mekong Delta to 2030. I think is the until now, I think it is the first project in the world at the very large scale with the rice production, rice emission, low emission rice carbon in the world. And one of specific targets of this program is just we want to reduce 10% of emissions, gas emission, in compare with the traditional rice cultivation practice now. We are also now working with the World Bank TCAP, to build the result-based carbon credit payment project, and we're hoping that we're going to have we're going to have a first result very soon, because we are in the negotiation process with TCAP for the project. Our prime ministers also have very interested in this project, and he got an order number 13 on May this year that request our ministries to take 1 million hectare program is the pilot to develop result-based payment project for carbon project. And not only TCAP, Vietnam agriculture sectors, now we are already began discuss on a potential joint crediting mechanism with Japan's Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries, and also has initiated talk with the partners such as Switzerland and South Korea about like a carbon credits on rice production areas. It's clear that we find the future benefits from implementing Article 6 in Vietnam. We recognize that the cooperation mechanisms under Article 6 can bring opportunity for us to assess the sustainable carbon finance, which is when support and encourage our farmer transform their agriculture practice to be more green, to be sustainable than the traditional way. And we also think that by implementing Article 6, especially enhance the cooperation, international cooperation during the under the Article 6, it will be enable us to assess the new technologies in rice production to the sustainable productions in the future. So step by step, we think we are now step by step to see a gradual clear the benefit of the Article 6 to our agriculture productions. Thank you.
Excellent. So a lot is happening already. And if I now turn to our next panelist, Daniel Benefort. Yes, you're back. It's good. So I'm sure that, well, the same question to you. Do you already see Article 6 resulting in material benefits in the country? And as we know, you are engaged in many corporations already. So maybe it's difficult for you to explain to us everything you are doing in just under 5 minutes. But yeah, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Sandra and colleagues. Thanks for the opportunity, and thanks to getting me back to the family virtually. I wanted to say this for the start, that in the case of Ghana, the Article 6 is part of the many of policies that we are implementing to achieve our NDC. So it's not the sole policy. And in the NDCs, we have two types of policies, the domestic policies and what we call international cooperation. So Article 6 appears to be part of the international cooperation component of the NDC policy. So just to provide a context. And I want to give you a sense of where we are on both fronts and how Article 6 is helping us to achieve a higher ambition of the NDCs. So the first one is that we have four very key areas. The first area that we are putting monies into ourselves is regarding landscape restoration. So the government is putting money into restoring landscape by itself through its national budget. Secondly, the government is pushing to promote the idea of climate smart agriculture, right? It's putting money into climate smart agriculture. The third thing recently is the government has begun exploring different domestic carbon pricing policy options. And as a result, in December, the government passed a domestic indirect emission tax for industries and transport, with the aim of helping to achieve the NDC target. And therefore, the Article 6 is to complement the domestic effort. But I want to focus on some of the results that we are already observing from the Article 6 engagement. We are engaged in with about 4 countries. And the purpose of our engagement, as you are aware, colleagues, is to ensure that we achieve the emission reductions that wouldn't have occurred but for Article 6. So we are carefully ensuring that our participation in Article 6 do not compromise our effort to achieve our own NDC target, what we call the Tier 1 target. And then we are working with our partners to achieve the Tier 2 target of the NDCs, so that we are managing carefully the risk of overselling. And that said, here are some of the examples that I want to highlight. So first of all, the investment that is being made across board in high-tech clean cooking interventions, in modernizing climate smart agriculture, in providing access to clean energy in homes, in promoting green cooling, in promoting better waste management, has already led to some around $900 billion investment that could be leveraged on the back of the investment from Article 6. So we are using Article 6 to unlock traditional financing that wouldn't have happened on the back of Article 6. So that is a very important first step. And we can show this because the projects are already receiving investments which has been unlocked or catalyzed by Article 6 investments. Number 2 is that on the back of that is creating around 1,000 jobs on the ground already. People are involved in providing waste management services to communities. People are involved in the manufacturing, distribution, and also monitoring of the use of better cooking devices. There are domestic production facilities in the country. So clearly, jobs is important, and green jobs or net green job creation is an important benefit for Article 6. Number 3 is clearly enabling foreign direct investment is important. And therefore, if Article 6 is done very effectively, it can unlock foreign direct investment. My last point, colleagues, is that as you are doing all of this is important. And I think my friend from my friend Simon made this point very early, that we are very mindful of the need to ensure that environmental integrity is our hallmark, because we don't want to live in the fear of becoming caught in gardenization. Now, how do we do this in a way that we maintain the highest form of environmental integrity? So, Sandra, this is what we are doing. And I'm promoting that Article 6 can work, but it can work with a lot of hard work.
Thank you, Dan. That was a great speech and very encouraging. And I think we see also how Ghana is already reaping some of the first mover advantages, and very happy to hear. And I think also the kind of good news on in terms of real benefits that the carbon market also needs. So thank you very much for that intervention. And let me now turn to Fenella and ask you, so after hearing about the benefits from the various speakers already, just how does that resonate with you? And what is your experience working across many countries in Article 6 readiness and supporting them in transactions?
Sure. Thank you very much, Sandra. And I'd like to thank all the other speakers. Luckily, I agree with all of you. I think it's, we're working, so the Global Green Growth Institute doesn't just do carbon. We look at supporting countries on a vision of green growth. And I mention that very specifically because what does it mean to a host country? A host country has a national plan, a national growth plan. We have worked with our members. Generally, they've either already done it or we help them when they first become members. And Uzbekistan, Vietnam, and Ghana are all current members or on the pathway to membership on greening their growth plans. So what does that mean? That means, okay, so we can help you. Why don't you look at renewable energy instead of the third coal-fired power station, or climate-smart agriculture, or look at your transport sector. And that plan sits there. Now, how are you going to finance it? So the finance can come from commercial financing, and that's where it often becomes challenging. So historically, we've always had what was referred to as climate finance, and this is where the nomenclature becomes very confused between and terminology. So climate finance is commercial finance with some element of grant or overseas development aid added to it to bring down the cost for countries. Great, but it means it's limited. So what is the benefit of Article 6? Many of the countries we work with say, yes, it helps to finance our energy transition or our climate-smart agriculture because it's a complementary but additional stream of finance. It's a commodity trade, so it doesn't have to come from the World Bank or an MDB or a government. It is transactional in nature, so it's a different type of, not even financing, it's payment on delivery. Now, I'll say the challenges afterwards as to what that then creates, but what it does mean is you get more finance for that transition. It also means you've got the benefits, you can look at the different ways of trading. So there are individual projects one at a time, or you can look more fundamentally at leveraging whole policies in a country, changing a policy on wheeling power through IPPs in your country, or access to the grid for IPPs. These laws weren't changed because it was seen as sort of not very viable economically for companies to do this. You change the law, it becomes viable. That's the policy approach for carbon trading, which is what Uzbekistan has done with the World Bank under TCAF, and I know Vietnam, and we have been working in several countries. So I think that's my second main area. I think the last one is almost like the knock-on effect. So in a way, a country, by doing Article 6, by taking on this enormous amount of work to put in the infrastructure to work out exactly how they're going to do the MRV, how they're then going to report that, it kind of brings together all of the statistical data requirements around what you are measuring in a country around your emissions, your inventories, your BTRs, your reporting, and then potentially has the idea of finding areas where you can do more that you weren't even thinking of before, or leading you into new areas. Like Daniel very correctly said, I don't think Ghana would have thought about domestic carbon pricing if it hadn't started down a road of looking at Article 6. So it's a very nice entry level to go deeper into carbon pricing to allow you to raise ambition. Thanks.
Excellent. Thanks so much for your thought. Well, I guess after all the optimistic reflections, we now have to turn to the challenges in the second round of questioning. So let me again start with you, Deputy Minister, and ask you what kind of key challenges do you perceive in realizing these benefits, and then perhaps also crucially how challenges can be overcome.
Yeah, as today's workshops I was attending, most of them, I'm seeing that because we are a country just starting this regulatory framework for Uzbekistan. It will be ready by the end of this year. But I'm seeing that depending on the country's situation, it varies between country to country. It's not like single framework, which means it will be complex regulatory framework. And then in order to implement this framework, it takes time for us to implement for that. So this will be, this needs transparency, monitoring, verification. It takes a lot of time. This will be, I think, a very challenging part. And also that technical, legal, financial capacity building is also important for here. And then it also needs a lot of challenging for the future. And as I said, for the countries that are integrating large-scale renewables into their power grid, challenging part, you can install solar, utility-scale solar projects or wind power projects very easily. But integration to the system is very important, even creating the right infrastructure. Because those are the, yes, those are green energy, clean energy, but the intermittence of this, the technologies creates huge problem in the system. You have to have ready transmission lines, ready automation system, ready reserve capacities for that. Without this, you cannot integrate them. So this will create another challenge for the implementing like green technology for the specifically energy generation side. And also the practice that our goals that as a developing nation should align that I said international standards. We need to keep track of it, all of them. And yes, finding the buyers will be another challenge, because I see that the countries are also participating here, and finding the buyers and then establishing a relationship with them, long-term relationship with them. This will be a little bit challenge in the future. And World Bank, thanks for the World Bank. This is helping us for that. It's there was a first of its kind of policy credit program with Uzbekistan. It's called iCraft. We got this this year. It's $46 million policy credit program. It's the first of its kind in the globally, and it's helping so much for us for implementing those projects here. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. And Madam Huang, same question to you. Which challenges do you perceive, and how to overcome them?
Yeah, because with the view of like a technical pupils, so I see the challenges focusing on most like a technical use issues, how to overcome it to get the benefit from Article 6. The challenge with us, I think the first thing, the first challenge with us is like we got a very, the capacity of farmers and also the technical management capabilities of the local people is still very low. They don't even understand why we should produce in the to go to the low carbon production. For example, they familiar with the traditional one, just come to the field and doing things like their father, their grandfather, and many people before doing it. So they don't know how to transition to the new technicals, products and technicals. So I think the first challenge is the knowledge, the capacity of the farmer and also the technical people. And another thing is with like for myself, from government, for official government. So I feel we are still lack of experience in negotiating agreement post. It's also the very big area where we lack the negotiation skill, we lack like information, even experience doing stuff. So it's also our the challenges. But in my view, I think the greatest challenges is how to adapting. How to adapt our agriculture product to meet the different carbon credit standard required by buyer. You know, every buyer, different buyer, they got a different standard in like about the quality of carbon credit. So we have to like change the production system to fit with the standard, that standard. And just the rice production in Vietnam, now we have to facing with the small scale productions. Every farmer, they got a very, very small areas to plant rice there. So they were familiar, as I said, and they're happy with the thing like with the technical thing, like they leave water in during the season. They don't need to reduce the water in this, or they can use a big amount of like a rice seed in the farms, or doing the very traditional like practice in the field. So it's very hard to us to train them to help them to change to the sustainable production techniques, which is we have to reduce gas emissions and to create the carbon credit in rice production. So it's also our challenges. And as our colleagues said, another challenge for us is investment for infrastructures to run the MRV system with the rice production with a very large area. It's got very much. So the farmer and also the local, the local authorities, they very worried just is that investment is what it is. Yeah, and I think all the challenges we need to like a step by step to overcome those, and with like education, with training, or with like the campaign of to tell them how to do that. So yeah.
Yes. Thank you. It's hard work. Yeah. Okay, let me turn to Daniel again. Daniel, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh,
I'm here.
There you are. Very good. And question to you, do you still have challenges, or have you overcome them all?
No, we have scaling challenges. Yeah, scaling. But so first one, colleagues, is that definitely we need to think about how to get into the discussion around equity in the distribution of carbon revenues. That is a minefield. That is a very major demotivation factor, and we want to look into that. So we're looking at fair pricing and distribution of carbon revenues to the communities, to the states, and to the developers, and also to the service providers, and also to the buyers. So we want to venture into that big minefield. The other challenge, I think was said earlier by Tanela, is about how to mobilize the human and policy and infrastructural requirement to be able to enter into Article 6 markets. It requires a lot of capacity and skills and a team that is dedicated to do all the things that you are required to do, from the creation of the Article 6 cooperative approach to the point of implementation of the project to the point of reporting. It requires a lot of hard work and dedicated team, and many countries do not have that team in place. The third challenge is the challenge where, in many cases and in many countries, you can hardly find initial government money put aside to support the initial work for Article 6, with the hope that in future Article 6 money will come. So that challenge, that uncertainty is very much concerning to everybody. That why would anybody put money into a market which had never worked in the past? The fourth challenge is about managing expectation. We go over a boom-bust expectation cycle where people expect so much from carbon market or Article 6. And when they are confronted with the realities, they realize that it's not as easy as it's been projected. And therefore, then they begin to talk down the process. So for me, we need to manage expectations. Otherwise, it will kill the effort around Article 6. We must manage it very, very well. The final point is about the involvement of the local financial institutions. They are carrying over the experiences from the CDM market, which was a multiplicity of factors which made the local financial institutions stand away from the markets and be able to convince them to be part of the ecosystem of Article 6. That is a major challenge. The last one, if we are all afraid, every morning we pray that we don't get ourselves involved in it, that how do we stay away from being in the Guardian newspaper and being reported that Ghana has suffered a certain untoward action that is leading to a big reputational issue for the government? We are all afraid every morning. So we need to deal with that. How do we stay away from Guardianization? And lastly, how do we manage the onslaught of investors into our countries without being prepared? It's also very important. So that's what I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Those are really so important reflections. So now I would like to pass the floor to Fenella, actually with the same question of challenges encountered and whether you would see similar issues as raised by the previous speakers. But at the same time, I think we want to end on a high note with this panel. So I'd like to also challenge you to to give it a positive spin at the end. And so what GGGI is doing and helping countries to overcome these challenges so that actually it's all going to be sorted.
Yes, I started writing the challenges, and it's kind of like there's a limit to where I want to see my workload, because you're right. It is one of GGGI's roles is to help countries overcome the challenges. So I've put the challenges, and it's very much in line with what each of the countries have described here, and particularly if I think of crops, you know, a farmer who is not wealthy, to tell them to change the way that they've done their farming for 3 generations, it has dire consequences if you get it wrong. So it's not something that is light. We have to understand the seriousness of when we're trying to instill change. So GGGI did a survey in 2022. We went around to all of our members and we said, okay, our members mainly being developing countries, emerging economies, how are you ready? Do you want to participate in Article 6? Over 78% more, they all wanted to participate. So no problem at all. Okay, what's your biggest fear? And in fact, what they said was, it's an uneven playing field. We don't feel we have as much information or knowledge. So it's not, I think sometimes in conferences like here, we hear the words, we need capacity building. But it's also confidence raising. It's not death by PowerPoint in a meeting room. It is, how do we help host countries feel as confident? So one prime example of that, which I know your company, Climate Focus, has helped us with before, is helping countries to understand the legal documentation. What does a bilateral agreement with another country look like? What does it mean? What do those obligations actually mean for us? What am I signing up to or not? What is a MOPA? What is the mitigation outcome purchase agreement? And what does it all mean? And what does the project proponent need to do? What does the country need to do? Does the government need to sign it? Does the project proponent sign it? Who? And these are all questions. So if you can kind of demystify that, and I'm avoiding just the question of it's hard and it takes time, because I think, we know that. But there are lots of things that are hard and take time. Try being over 50 and learning how an iPhone works. But the cost of running the system is another phrase. I'm talking about my mother, by the way, if anyone's asking, clearly. The cost of running the system, I think this is way underestimated. So the MRV, not necessarily the validation verification, there are plans and there's history on that. More the underlying, how does Daniel find 3 people who are dedicated to sit in the EPA, to write all the reports, and to make sure that the corresponding adjustment has been done to the satisfaction of the buyer? And the UNFCCC and the Guardian, of course, Daniel. So how do we fund that when you only get paid for the carbon and can do the benefit sharing once you've delivered the credits and done all that work? So that timing of finance, which then brings you covered it, Daniel, the capacity building, and there was a question from the I4C in the previous panel. Are you going to do training of the private sector? Are you doing training of the financial markets and the financial sector? There has to be some level of clear messaging and understanding. And yeah, we do look at if there are programs, how do we get those messages across and help the financial markets understand? So there is that. And then my last point of what is a challenge, but a completely solvable one, is I think we have to organize ourselves a little bit better as intermediaries, as implementers in the market, as experts in the market. We're naming the same thing 3 different things. We're naming the 3 different things with the same name. We need to have we need to organize ourselves and have a clear terminology, because if we can't understand each other, how the heck are we meant to help anyone else understand it? But I think that's a solvable one.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much to responding to that challenge. I mean, I wonder how easy it is to change the language, but that's, I guess, a conversation for another day. So according to our clock here, we have 3 more minutes left in this panel. So I'd like to invite you, if there are any questions to the panel, I'd invite you to ask them. But, yes. Yes. Yeah, microphone is coming.
Here in the second row.
Second row.
Here in the front, the lady in the front.
Thank you, everyone. That was a really interesting panel.
I'm Lily Mara from Terra Global Capital, and I'm just wondering to get you touched a little bit on private sector engagement from the capacity side, but I am interested in hearing from the host country representatives where there's a lot of private sector demand and developing projects under a framework that is conducive to private sector climate finance coming into your country. So I wonder what sort of cooperation we need between private sector entities and your country governments to make a system that works both in terms of regulation and implementation.
Thank you. Anybody who would like to take this question?
Well, I guess I will give my idea about any companies and project developers or the consultants who's willing to come and cooperate with the hosting country like us. They're always open, but you know, I was going to ask counter question that are we ready for this? Because our regulatory framework ready to start signing some contracts? Because you know, as a project developer or the buyer country, when you come to the developing nation, what are the key points you ask first in order to start the projects? Because there were issues. Some project developers coming and doing the investments for that country, and at the end there wasn't developed any framework, regulatory framework. So it's really important to work with directly with the government first. For all the developing nations, they have assigned ministries like Ministry of Ecology, maybe Ministry of Energy. So I will encourage them to work directly with the government first to start any negotiations.
Thank you very much. Any final comments from anyone before we close? I'm looking at my panel. You're good? All right. Then thank you all so much. Oh, sorry, Dan. Yes, please.
You're on mute.
You're on
You're on
mute.
mute.
Still on mute.
Or maybe it's the technology here that's not working. Yeah, I see.
We can hear you.
Maybe we can put a microphone at the computer over there, but yeah, unfortunately, we cannot hear you then. Okay, we say goodbye like that. All right, then once more, let me thank you all very much for attending at this late hour. I think now it's time for the social event. And thank you very much to all our panelists. And please join me in giving a hand for these excellent contributions.